I'm seriously thinking of shaving my head, so it could just be a three bald men and an angel. Three bald men and an angel.
So Jamie will have all the
on
hair.
Christmas Day to talk about Gambit on their podcast. Play the music, Daniel.
Welcome to abombtozzzax. With me, Colin Holt. And my friends Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come!
Hello, welcome. That was a subdued hello because last week I shouted hello and boy did it clip. Boy. Hello, welcome to what's it called? abombtozzzax, the best Marvel character. Who is the best Marvel character? I'm changing it from my favorite Marvel character because it sounds like a weird sort of Japanese girl's character. You know what I mean?
A wifey.
My favorite character, that kind of thing. No, I don't know. I'm changing it. abombtozzzax, who is the best Marvel character? That'll bring him in, Dan. That'll bring him in.
Yeah.
Every week we go through the Marvel universe, the wonderful Marvel Comics universe, from A all the way to Z. abombtozzzax, discussing the characters. Who are they? What do they do? What are their powers? Are they good? No, most of them. And finally, we rank them in a list. It's wonderful. Joining me today is Dan Snellgrove.
Hello.
And Nick Krik.
Hello.
Two beautiful eggs. Soon to be three. Honestly, it's going. It's going to be a shock.
Really?
When that hair goes. So this week, we are jumping ahead. Normally we do A to Z, as you know. I'm constantly changing the format one way or another. But because of the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie, I've seen it. Jamie's seen it, but he's not here. Nick has seen it, I'm guessing. Oh, yeah. Dan.
I saw the person in front of me on the plane was watching it, so I haven't heard it, but I've seen visuals from time to time when I looked up from my book.
Oh, that's interesting. You get the idea. What was your book? Was it Deadpool? It was a novelization of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, I was, verifying it as I was watching it. Like, does this match up to the literature?
Yeah, when they used to do novelizations of movies. Do they still do that? That was a really weird... I had a Ghostbusters novelization that I remember reading 3 times. And it was full of swears.
Oh. Well, there's a novelization of The Last Airbender, because I've got to buy that for my cousin... For my cousin's daughter, actually, for Christmas. I think
what? Do you mean as in the manga?
Yeah, wasn't it a TV thing, yeah. and then they've written more books about it and stuff. I don't know. Is the honest
I think it was a manga originally. I don't know if you want to get a novelization. Don't you want to get the manga comic, Dan? Oh boy.
Oh, this is. I hope she's not listening to this. Oh yeah. God. Oh no.
So anyway, we're jumping ahead, but because of the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, this is something Jamie suggested ages ago. A, he's not here, and B, that movie came out ages ago. So we're really behind the curve, but it is now on Disney Plus, so loads of people are watching it, including, worryingly, my daughter. She's not even 10. My little boy wants to watch it as well, but so I found out the other day she watched Deadpool 2 at a friend's house. Have you seen Deadpool 2?
I mean, I've from the back seat where I was looking over, I just saw a lot of blood.
A lot of blood.
Yeah.
A lot of swears. It's oh my goodness. Yeah, and every night she goes, Dad, can we watch Deadpool and Wolverine, please? And obviously I'm like, yes, this is everything I've ever wanted in many ways. But for the first time watching we'll talk about Deadpool and Wolverine more later, I guess. But the first time watching Deadpool and Wolverine, I had that sort of right-wing thing of like, I think this might encourage violence. Do you know what I mean? You know, when they always blame it on violence on computer games, and there's a bit towards the end where Wolverine, and it's all done in a Looney Tunes comical way, but Wolverine just stabs his way through, sorry for the spoiler, but through various alternate Deadpools, which is all very funny, you know, because there's like Welsh Paul is one of them, who's Welsh and is from that football team that Ryan Reynolds owns and all that. It's all fun, but also I'm like, I am just watching a man, and Wolverine's my favourite hero of all, but I am just watching a man stab loads of people, like for ages. I'm not sure this is good. So I'm in a real dilemma over that one. Anyway, in Deadpool versus Wolverine, there is a character who appears. There's a lot of history about this, why he's in the film at all. He appears as a cameo, but I think they spoiled the cameo before the movie came out quite publicly a few times. Anyway, and that cameo is a character called Gambit. Gambit.
Oh.
Le Gambit. Is he ever the Gambit? I don't think he's the Gambit. He's not like
Le
the Batman,
Gambit.
is he? He is just Gambit. He's Gambit. Gambit. Risk. Gamble. Muckabout. Call it what you will. Blowing your cash on them horses. He is a character created by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee in Uncanny X-Men number 266 in 1990. I'm going to fire some facts at you boys, okay? His real name, Remy, and ding, 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 we've got a middle name, Etienne. Remy Etienne. This is the first middle name I've heard since Warren Kenneth Worthington III. Remy Etienne LeBeau. Remy Etienne LeBeau, which of course translates as Remy, the sexy devil.
Yes.
His height is 6'2", same as me. His weight is 81 kilograms. Definitely not the same as me. But this is the saddest thing about, well, one of the many sad things about me. I want to lose weight. And now I'm thinking I'm going to get to Gambit's weight. So Gambit is now my goal.
Okay. Do you feel le sexy as well, Colin?
Now or not? Not right now. No. I mean, my hair has become a comb over, and I'm over 100 kilograms right now.
I don't think you're going to get sympathy from two bald men about having a comb over.
Oh, well, would you prefer a comb over? Well, this is the dilemma I'm in. Apart from just my daughter watching Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm in the dilemma of like, is a comb over better or worse than a bald head?
Worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
You can't. Now look at it now. Okay, I realise we're getting off topic, listeners. Looking at it now, how comb over does it look from where you're sat? That's a terrible question to ask. That's like when someone goes, "Do you think I'm fat?" Or like, "How old do you think I am?" How much is right? Okay. You can tell. Dan can tell. He's brutal. He doesn't hold back.
I was agreeing with you. I mean, it is asking that question. Does my bum look big in this?
Oh, okay.
On a podcast. So now we have to answer to the masses.
Maybe if anyone's bloody listening, maybe you could send in a drawing of what I look like, what you think I look like right now. It's a very clever comb over. Right, we've got to move on from this comb over. Gambit definitely does not have a comb over, although I think he could wear a wig. I think that would be a funny story. I'd do write that story, but I'd write it as a 45-year-old bitter man. His hair is apparently black, and his eyes are red, which is weird. His powers, we'll come back to these in Science Corner at the end, but apparently his powers, there's loads of different variations of how his powers work, apparently, which I didn't realise, but essentially it is energy conversion. Sounds scientific, probably nonsense. Remy has the power to take the potential energy stored in an object and convert it to kinetic energy, thus charging that item with explosive results. Dan's face.
Hey, this is going to be a fun Science Corner.
That's going to be a fun Science Corner. And also, just to note, he does apparently have hypnotic charm. That is one of his powers. He has hypnotic charm. Yes. One thing that I'm about to do the potted history of Gambit, and I'd like you to join me in this history, just for the listeners who may not know who Remy Etienne LeBeau really is. But one thing that Gambit always screams to me, two things I've got to say. What is he wearing? It doesn't make any sense. Who put that together? It's worse than Airwalker. Come on. And secondly, he really comes across as someone who has studied that book, The Dice Man. Dan, I think you've read The Dice Man. I've never read The Dice Man. Is it The Dice Man, or is it the one? What's the? I think
Yes
the Dice
Man.
Man's- what's the one where it's a basically pickup techniques?
Oh, the game.
The game. Sorry, The Dice Man. The game.
Oh, that went in
the
a
dice.
different
The Dice Man's is where he lives his life by the dice. Is it? Similar?
Yeah.
Which I guess is Gambit's thing as well.
Oh, interesting. Well, this is going to be an interesting chat. Isn't it?
Maybe you didn't get. Okay, all right. Well, that's what I always get. Okay, I'm going to say from the off. Okay, right. First question before we get into it: do we think he's cool? I think no.
I think yes.
Nick?
It's a no from me as well.
It's a no from Nick.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, this is
Good
fun.
time.
This is fun. Right, let me give you this this thing that I actually spent time. I should have been working on my. Dan is right now kissing the little figure of Gambit.
That you gave me.
I gave him as a present when he came back from his trip abroad. Oh, look at him with his little.
I feel like I have to defend him now against
I mean,
you
that
two
coat
haters.
looks even creepier when it's made out of sort of bin bag material.
See through it, and no, it is a bit.
It's
weird.
It's an interesting design. Okay, we are recording. I'm just double checking that. Yes. So, Gambit, first introduced as a mysterious chain-smoking Cajun thief who helps out Storm while she's de-aged and powerless. Wandering the streets of Cairo, Storm finds herself getting into deeper water with arch-enemy, the Shadow King. Gambit initially shows the powers of being a saucy devil with the ladies, and also charging cards with kinetic energy, making them explode. Initially shown by them being bathed in a creepy green light. Did you notice that, boys?
Oh yes, that's
Right,
that's
isn't
what
it
we
the original?
noticed.
Ah!
Oh, yeah.
Which would later change to a more Pimpernel-like pink. I was quite proud of that sentence. In fact, he ends up wearing a surprising amount of bright pink for a thief. His whole outfit looks very uncomfortable and entirely nonsensical, including a bright pink metal breastplate, knee-length boots, a trench coat, a big stick, weirdest of all perhaps, a sort of balaclava that exposes his ear, hair and face that is often referred to as a head sock. Perhaps his greatest power of all is making everyone around him find this freakish attire not just acceptable, but cool and very sexy. Gambit rescues Storm, tags along beside her as she rejoins the X-Men. Professor X and the original X-Men, at that point called X-Factor, oh god, this is making me sick, to defeat the Shadow King. After which, Storm is a woman once more. The old, new, and even newer X-Men form one massive team, making Professor X ask that immortal philosophical question, what am I gonna do with 13 X-Men? He decides to split them up into two teams, blue and gold. Gambit joins the blue. He's hanging around at part in lease because he's enamored with Rogue, whose mutant powers mean she can never make contact with skin-to-skin contact with another person, or she'll steal their memories and put them in a coma. That doesn't stop Gambit from constantly trying to snog her and unnecessarily saying things in French, then in English. My favourite quote of all is, "Je m'appelle Gambit. My name is Gambit."
Like a walking Duolingo.
A lot of information coming at you there. I feel we should break this up and discuss as we go along. Okay, so first of all, we'll jump back into what happens to him later. But first of all, so his initial appearance, very creepy, I thought. I liked it more. No, but creepy in a kind of like mystery. He looks almost like Morpheus from the Sandman.
I got this here. Sandman vibes.
Very Sandman.
And I'm a Sandman fan, man. I'm Dan.
Yeah. We're talking DC Sandman here, not William Baker, aka Flint Marco. I know all the names.
So yeah, I mean that really for me straight away I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this vibe.
And smokes straight away, chain smoking. I imagine he's on something really horrible like Lambert and Butler as well.
Yeah, I reckon he's got that gruffly thing going on from his smoking.
Stinks of cigarettes all the time. Oh, ooh. God, but he's just so sexy. He reeks. His teeth and fingers and face are yellow, but I love him. He's that hypnotic charm. He looks a bit like someone who hangs out. This is a terrible thing to say. I feel like I'm punching down, but he looks a bit like someone who hangs out outside Ladbrokes on a sort of Sunday afternoon with a fag in his mouth.
Yeah,
Not so
everyone's
much
like,
the costume.
that's Gambit. What you mean, Steve in the corner?
Call me Gambit. I told you. Why you called Gambit? Because I've lost all my money on the horses. I live in a bedsit now. Do you know what I mean? The fag just always the fag. I should say for American listeners, fag is what we ruffins in England call cigarettes. But his cigarette seems to be sort of hanging out his mouth all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's something quite feminine about him, but in a sort of like middle-aged British woman who works in a factory.
Oh no!
This is my. I'm only saying this because I don't think I'd ever read this comic, and I was like, "Oh, Gambit looks very different to how he ends up looking." Is all I'm saying.
This is the Uncanny X-Men 266.
Yeah. As in, I feel like they deliberately tried to make him seedy and sort of mysterious and alleywayish. Yeah.
Well, whilst I am on Team Gambit here, he does have one of the creepiest lines I think I've read so far.
Oh, I was hoping someone would mention this.
Do you know the one I mean?
I do.
I don't want to say it.
I know.
His first appearance.
This
is Uncanny X-Men 266.
Yeah. It's the when he jumps off the top of the roof with Storm. Yeah, it's the Nick's nodding. It's the same line.
What does he say? What I haven't.
Oh.
As I said, we were meant to do this episode months ago, and I haven't reread them since. I'm afraid. So what does he say?
Nick, do you want to say it? I don't want to say it.
Come on, Dan.
I will.
Roll the dice.
So at this point, Storm's a young child, effectively.
Right.
And as they're about to jump off a building, him sort of grabbing on behind her, he says, "Good thing you're so young, I might start to get ideas."
Oh dear. Gambit.
That's not okay, is it? That's
No.
Mon cher.
He let himself down there.
He has let himself down, hasn't he?
Combine that with the fact he's wearing a trench coat, and it's not a good look.
And smoking a fag. And he's got a big stick. What were you doing with that stick? Put that stick down, you weird man. It's not good for thieving.
No. I mean, I'm finding this harder and harder.
If he had like keys for fingers, I mean, that would be very weird. That would be actually, that's the creepiest thing I've ever thought. A man with keys for fingers.
Jangle.
I can open any door. Je m'appelle Gambit.
You can't keep me out.
The key man is coming. But I think that would at least relate to his ability to thieve. But a big stick.
Can he do pole vaulting with his stick, like jumping over fences? I'm really trying to defend him here.
No, he can't. It'd be
No,
he does. He does. But really funny if he couldn't. But he's always trying. Because I imagine that's really hard to do. Pole vault is one of the things you look at it, you sort of go, yeah, I could probably do that. Do you do that?
No.
But then if you actually think about it for a second, you're like, oh my God, that must be the hardest thing. Yes, he does pole vault occasionally. But again, is pole vaulting you've got to carry it around this house as well. I don't know. I've never stolen nothing. I'm saying, nah, I've never stolen nothing. Anyone who says I have is wrong. But I just don't think a big stick's good for thieving.
Nah, you'd have to do your pole vaulting and then leave it somewhere. Or is it? It's not one of those ones. Oh, like the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons when she one of the characters, her stick grew so she could hit people, and then when she's done hitting, she can like just put it in a pocket and carry on with the day. But his doesn't do that, does it? He does have to drag it round.
Put it in her sort of furry pants that she wears.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's got purple.
I don't know where it goes.
Leggings or something.
Purple leggings. He's okay. So what else did we? So he comes across pretty creepy, but he does help Storm, and they do beat the Shadow King. I quite like him in that issue. That comment aside, he's like, oh, who is this guy? And what he's wearing is more subdued. It's still weird, but it's not as insane as it gets.
I have to say, I didn't even notice the bright purple clothes. Only when you went through it, I was like, oh my God, yes. I think he charmed me. I feel like
his powers reach through the paint. And those beautiful red eyes. Those demonically beautiful red eyes. Okay, so And the Shadow King, quite a good baddie. I think all that episode's good. I enjoyed all that issue. I've got to stop saying episode. Why do I keep saying episode? So, and then, of course, he joins the X-Men. He remains a man of mystery. In fact, no one seems sure why he's hanging around the school. And then Bishop...
We do.
Again, in that context, he is a walking red flag, a walking pink flag. Bishop, who is an X-Man from the future, from a time where the Sentinels have killed everyone, all that stuff, and they're all in camps, blah, blah, blah. He's come back in time for reasons I can't remember, but he joins the X-Men because he's stuck in the past. And he sees Gambit and declares that he's the traitor who will eventually betray them, because in the future, the X-Men have all been betrayed by one of them, but no one knows who it was. This leads to fisticuffs. And as I remember, everyone getting covered in pie. Does
Absolutely
that happen?
right.
It does happen, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. I read that this morning.
So then we've got lovely Rogue. We all love Rogue. We haven't covered Rogue yet in this, so we shouldn't go into too much detail. But I mean, I think every man in the world, every comics fan likes Rogue, right?
Yeah.
How do we feel about this fag smoking, Labrook dwelling? Labrook's, by the way, is a betting shop. I didn't explain that. Absolute waste of skin with his big stick hanging around her. And also the whole thing, she's like, you can't touch me. I'll steal all your memories and you'll go in a coma. I mean, to be fair, this is always a bit wibbly wobbly. You know, that's her power, by the way. I keep forgetting not everyone knows everything about the X-Men. If you touch Rogue, she steals your memories and your powers. You go into a coma and maybe die. It's always a bit. It's one of those things. It's like with Ghostbusters where they say cross the streams. We can never cross the streams, and they do it about 4 times. It's fine. It's that kind of thing. But yeah, but he keeps trying. What's going on in his brain? Does he not care?
Well, he's got I quote, a perverse weakness for gallantry. Is this his weakness? As all great superheroes, you know, they've got a weakness. Is his just love? You know?
Yeah, but she's saying, I mean, she's attracted to him. Let's make that clear from the off.
Yeah.
But he will not let it go. He won't just, I don't know. I also feel like, even though I guess they're sort of the same age, are they? But I feel there's something very young and innocent about Rogue, even though, of course, well, we'll get to this. She was an out and out villain when she first appears. She's a bad one, tough cookie. But yeah, I feel protective over this imaginary character. I'm surprised Wolverine doesn't just chop his head off straight away, is what I'm saying. Because yeah.
But I mean, apart from that line, I don't feel that he's like trying to trick her or like. I think she knows what the deal is, isn't she? She's not like. She's not as green as she's cabbage looking, is she?
No, but he's trying to woo her or seduce her.
Yeah.
But they both know he's trying to kiss her, but they cannot touch. And she's saying, you can't do this. And he's going, oh, come on. You know what he's like? He's Pepe Le Pew, isn't he? Do you remember Pepe Le Pew? Pepe Le Pew was a skunk. And there's a cat, and the cat gets white paint on it. There is actually an origin. And I'm saying this as if I don't remember it. Obviously I remember. But the cat gets white paint on it, and he sees it, thinks it's a skunk, and then he's obsessed with it. And well, you know, it's a kid's cartoon, but clearly wants to make love to the cat. And
Rogue's got the white stripe. Are you saying there's some...
Yeah, they are. It's the Pepe Le Pew. He's Pepe Le Pew.
French accent and everything.
He speaks French. He literally, he is Je m'appelle Gambit. My name is Gambit. I did annoy my wife for a long time. I don't know why I had this little, you know, you have little tics that happen over the years. And I used to go, c'est bon, it's good. She used to find really annoying, understandably. And that probably came from Gambit. I'm not sure. So, yeah, so they have a little fight, Bishop and Gambit. I do like, or it's coming to me now, I did like as a kid. I never really got what Gambit was meant to be. It was confusing to me. He's got a big stick, etc. But I mean, I'm not against anyone with big sticks, but you know, in this case, he doesn't need a big stick. But I did like that aspect of one of the team is a traitor, and it's probably Gambit, and we can't trust him. And he is out for himself. He is ultimately selfish. And I wish in later comics they pushed that more. I mean, they sort of did and then pulled back, but I wish they'd made him. Do you know what I mean? Like he really. Well, we'll get to it in a minute, but he does do a kind of betrayal thing, but it's not the same.
Oh, this is a great.
It's one of those classic things where they build up a storyline and then either the writer gets bored or the editorial changes and they decide not to do anything particularly with it. So for ages, like, oh, he's a traitor, and then about 80 issues later, they do a sort of thing where it's like he sort of betrays them, but it wasn't that bad.
Well, no, they did complete it. I think they did complete it, but I didn't realize at the time. I think I'd stopped reading comics because it's the Onslaught saga.
Yeah.
To spoil it. So basically, when Bishop comes back in time, just before he comes back in time, he finds the X-Men's old headquarters that are all destroyed and damaged and fallen into ruin. And he watches a video of Jean Grey sending a message saying, he betrayed us. We trusted him. We never should have, that kind of thing. But he only sees that. Annoyingly, she doesn't tell him who she's talking about, obviously. And then he gets sent back in time. So that's the last thing he sees before he gets sent back in time. So he assumes, he knows it's someone, so he thinks it's Gambit.
Is that what he's got to go on? How does he? I mean, there's just.
Well, so in the future, Gambit is known as, he's just called LeBeau. He is alive, so he hasn't died either. So he's the only one of the X-Men who's still alive, but he's like an old man. And he's now called something like the Prophet or something.
Or the Watcher or something like that.
The Watcher, yeah, not the Survivor. Yeah, so he's not the what? That would be cool.
Oh, yeah, no.
The ultimate Gambit's story arc is he becomes the Watcher. He's actually the Watcher from the future, come back. Oh, we have got some time travel stuff that I need to talk about. Oh, that's exciting, Colin. Yes. Anyway, it turns out the traitor was actually Professor X in a whole storyline where he wipes Magneto's mind, but in doing so, the evil bit of Magneto goes into his brain, and then he creates a third character called Onslaught. It's not as good as the build-up. Yes, you're right, Nick. It did not pay off, really, did it? There you go. But there's a 2000 AD digression called ABC Warriors, which was about these robots. It's really like great punk, hardcore kind of robots battling. And the robots are kind of, they're used as soldiers and they kind of don't have any rights and they're all blown up. Do you know what I mean? It's really, and there was a baddie, but they're fighting the Vulgans, who are basically the Nazis, but in the future on Mars kind of thing. And the Vulgans have all got robots as well. And the leader is called Black Blood. And he's this clearly like decked out like a Nazi general type character, but a robot. But he ends up, they capture him and wipe his mind, and he ends up working with the ABC Warriors. But you always know he's always trying constantly to betray them and kill them all, but he can't. Do you know what I mean? I like that dynamic. It's fun. It's also a bit like Dr. Smith in Lost in Space. Did you ever watch Lost in Space? Dr. Zachary. Sorry, it's all coming at you thick and fast. Come on. Mon Dieu.
Zut alors.
I haven't thought of hardly any French so far. So, there we go. That's Gambit in the X-Men generally. Eventually, we discover Gambit's real name is Remy LeBeau, which, as I say, translates as what a stud. We discover he's already got a wife, Belladonna. I don't know if you read this one, Dan. She turns up. You did? She turns up, and like him, she is also wearing incredibly uncomfortable looking and nonsensical clothes. Yeah. In fact, it turns out they both hail from two New Orleans criminal families called the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild, who have been fighting for generations, but are united in their love of wearing uncomfortable looking and nonsensical clothing. Gambit and Belladonna were married to create a truce between the guilds. Actually feels quite Game of Thrones, all this, doesn't it? Even though it's sort of set in the 80s. It's like medieval or something. It's weird.
So D&D. Thieves Guild, Assassins Guild. It's straight out of Dungeons & Dragons.
That's what I was thinking. Or what's that? Skyrim, Morrowind, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Very, again, which clashed for me. I couldn't work out as a kid, where am I? What's going on? Why have you got Thieves Guild in 1990? Anyway, on the wedding night, Gambit somehow accidentally kills Belladonna's brother. I think her name is Bella, and her second name is Donna. Anyway, but he runs away. He offers to take her with her. Well, no, she says to go with him, but he says, no, you wouldn't enjoy the life on the road. Because he's a swine, isn't he, really? He's like, nah. Nah. He runs away.
I did find that bit a bit weird. Sorry, carry on. Yeah. But I did find that a bit weird.
Okay, we'll come back in a sec. His clothes get weirder and less comfortable looking. He becomes a thief. He meets Storm Jr. Belladonna is killed somehow, I think, conveniently leaving him to not be able to snog Rogue once again. Hooray! So that's the second section. I've done it in chapters. I'm very proud of my work here. If only I could apply this to anything else in my life. I did. Oh, I must tell you. So we're working on scripts at the minute. It's a digression. Working on scripts at the minute about Nottingham, about my upbringing in Nottingham, blah, blah, you know, like a kind of family sitcom. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go on ChatGPT, typed in Nottingham family sitcom. Oh, in seconds, it came out with the full treatment, right? But it's interesting, right? It's called Knots and Bolts. Knots and Bolts. And bizarrely, the main character is called Tony Collins. Just by coincidence, of course, my name is Colin. And the grandma is called Edna, which is my grandma's name. And what we would call her it was so creepy. But Tony Collins is a working class man with a heart of gold, sarcastic sense of humor, but family comes first. It's all that stuff. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, interesting stuff.
Be careful. It sounds like Rogue. Like ChatGPT has touched you and sucked all of your thoughts out. You'll end up in a coma, Colin. Be careful.
God, I feel like I'm in a coma anyway. I've got to shave my head off. Not my head. I can't shave my head. No, this is not what I wanted.
We need to help him, Nick. He doesn't know what he's
not
doing.
What I meant.
Stop at the scalp. Stop at the scalp.
Stop at the scalp. Just keep going, mate. Yep, all off. Get right down. So I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to remember any of that stuff. I want to start again, new life. Anyway, but the one thing I'll say with the Chat GPT thing, maybe I'm just kidding myself here, but the one thing I felt, obviously the thing says, yeah, but does it have that human touch, blah, blah, blah. And at first I thought, actually, this is quite good. And then I thought again, but actually none of it really means anything. Do you know what I mean? It's all like so generic and, do you know what I mean? It just says things like he's got a heart of gold, but he loves his family and it, la, la, la. Do you know what I mean? It's just all those things. And you think, actually, you could just take anything out and replace the names. And anyway, but it was actually quite helpful for me to format the treatment I've got right. I just changed two of the names. Great. Anyway, so good old Gambit, Remy LeBeau. So what do we think about the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild? I guess that's what I'm asking. I guess that's what I'm throwing at you. Dan. Did this improve your understanding of Gambit's character? Did it?
Well,
make you like him more or less?
I mean, I like the idea of sort of feuding groups, I suppose. But no, that particular comic or graphic novel, or whatever, I didn't like it too much. No, nah. I mean, I'm not really explaining that very well, but I don't think it was particularly well crafted.
I think it doesn't help they're all wearing sort of space age clothes like him.
Yeah.
Weird 80s David Bowie type outfits or whatever they're meant to be, but with metal on as well. It's not easy to take that seriously. Thieves and Assassins. I also think New Orleans is seen almost like magic. If you live in New Orleans, you must be like, look, we're not actually magical. Please stop thinking we've got, I guess they love it. I mean, I'd love it if they said it about Nottingham. But the idea that it's like saying, yeah, if you said it in Nottingham and so everyone's kind of an outlaw and that we all live in trees and wear green. It's a bit like, do you know what I mean?
Do you?
Yes, we do. But I'm sick of this stereotype. I'm only quite good at archery. I mean, I'm an expert at archery. Obviously, we all are.
Is this Origins the one we're talking about now?
Possibly. I can't remember what I sent you, but yeah, the whole Thieves Guild, Assassins Guild thing is just stupid, and I hate it.
And is this the one where he decides to go away from green and take up purple as his color, his power color?
Oh,
before,
he actually changed the color himself.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there was a little like color chart, and he went, "Oh, I'm going to go for that today," like from like Dulux or something. But that was when I noticed it. I was like, "Hang on, I've got in my notes. He shoots green out of his eyes onto the bit of metal he gets out of his pocket. His face goes green, and then he throws the thing. And now it's all purple." And I was like, "Oh, right, he's gone for a bit of a color change there."
Pink. I wouldn't say purple.
Oh, I am slightly colorblind, so.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
I got 58% on one of those tests.
58% of how good you can tell colours?
Yeah.
Oh, mate. When was that?
Rubbish. A few months ago.
What prompted that?
I've got a hoodie.
These comics?
I've got a hoodie that, like I said, pass me my grey hoodie over there. And my sister said, "You mean the brown one?" I was like, "No, that petrol blue grey one." She's like, "You don't have one of those. This is clearly brown." Which rocked my world. So yeah.
Did that make you feel like, you're living in a lie, or the world you thought was real is not real? World of information.
I'm having trust issues at the moment. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't believe anything or anyone.
Well, I mean, obviously, I have blue skin. You know this. Dun, dun, dun. Great. Let's move on from the Thieves Guild because it is pants. Anyway, after hanging around, throwing cards, etc., a long alluded to secret that catty bitch Sabretooth. I'm calling him a catty bitch. He is a bit. Sabretooth drops this secret. Gambit has done much worse than just try and snog everyone, wear nonsensical clothing, throw cards, and smoke fags. In fact, Gambit was responsible for the worst atrocity in X-Men history, when he helped Mr. Sinister and the Marauders brutally murder a vulnerable group of homeless mutants called the Morlocks. What a prick. Yeah. That comic, which I think is X-Men 350 or something. Did you read that one, guy? The one where he's up for trial with Eric the Red, who turns out to be Magneto. It's the worst thing I've ever read in my life. It was just unbearable. I think I might have put it on and then taken it off because it was just terrible. Anyway, he turns out he arranged, it's kind of vague, but basically he got the Marauders together and then maybe told them where to go. I think they initially wanted to really make it sound like, yeah, I sorted out the Mutant Massacre, so what? I wanted to make some money. Do you know what I mean? Which is more interesting and more Black Blood of the ABC Warriors. But then they've sort of over the years just changed it that, oh no, actually I didn't realise what was happening. All I did was send an email.
Yeah, it feels like they really backtracked so he could still be like the cool, goodish guy rather than massive shit who caused a load of people to die.
More interesting as a character, surely. Yeah. But not really a hero. But the good thing about the X-Men, they don't need to be heroes because there's loads of them. Cyclops can be the good guy.
So in this one, he just like he meets that guy who's got like the sort of the ribbons and stuff, and the
Mr. Sinister.
He was actually.
He is very, and again, amazing clothing choice. But I've got a big, amazing reveal for you both at the end of this. Which, Nick, you may know this, you may not, but I think it's going to blow your minds. So Mr. Sinister, for people who don't know, is probably the third biggest X-Men villain after, say, Magneto and Apocalypse. He's a geneticist. He's a sort of Victorian character who kept himself alive for hundreds of years, experimenting on people. He was always a bit of he'd just appear, and I don't think they worked out his origin for years because they just turn up and be sinister. But he is the man behind Jean Grey's clone, Madeline Pryor, the whole big Inferno event with all the demons, and most importantly, perhaps, the Mutant Massacre where the Morlocks were killed. Okay, sorry. Just some more information there, Dan.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this one, they meet up, and he apparently he's trying to help out Gambit by cutting a bit of his brain out to so he can gain control of his power again, because he puts the power into the thing he's going to throw. I mean, it's a complicated system, but he does that. He charges the thing up and throws the thing, but he can't control how much these days. Apparently, he overcharges it, and it boom, big explosion. So Sinister goes, "Oh, I'll help you. I'll cut a bit of your brain out, mate. That'll help."
I'd like it if when that happens, he makes this noise. Whoa! Anyway, sorry. I'll cut a bit of your brain out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it, mate.
So he does it, and then And then
Like,
it
you
comes
get
to
the
like,
edge shaved.
could be, mate. Careful.
Yeah,
And he's well, he's a thief. He's a thief for hire. He does jobs for money. So he's now been told to go and chat to these people and send them this way. So he just does. I think he does it unquestioningly, doesn't he? And then oh, they want you to be their guide down to the sewers. Okay, I'll do that. And then, well, now I'll be off. Then they start massacring, and then he tries to stop it. So, are you saying that's a rewrite of action?
That is I think, a bit of a rewrite. I think he just kind of took. I don't think it was ever like, yeah, I don't care. I think he was like, I know I'm working for a bad guy. I know this is like in a crime film where someone's kind of, running a bar where someone gets killed in the back, but they just kind of keep quiet about it. That kind of. I think that's what it originally was, more that. But then also, it doesn't really. Why is Gambit? I mean, he's a thief with a very big stick. That doesn't mean he's going to be good at finding loads of mutants. And surely Mr. Sinister can just do that. I think I prefer it. I think they tried to retroactively do the whole, oh, is he a baddie betraying the X-Men thing? Yeah.
Right.
I think he's such a 90s character as well. A lot of the characters in the 90s were like this, very style over substance. So I think it's very hard to keep him relevant. So they maybe just did that as a way of doing that. But what I did find out, which I haven't read this comic, but apparently, in actual fact, Mr. Sinister took the bit out of his brain. I might need to read this out. So he had a piece of his brainstem removed in the present time, had it replanted in Victoria-era England, which resulted in a predestination paradox for his surgeon, Mr. Sinister. While reattaching the brain matter in the 19th century, Essex recognised his own work and realised he would perform surgery that originally removed the brain matter in the future, but Gambit's past.
So, did you say Essex? David Essex?
Yes, David Essex.
David, right.
David, in the past, David Essex removes some brain matter, and then in the past realizes it and puts it back for him. Probably when he was sort of like, I don't know, around Only a Winter's Tale era.
Sure.
Only a Winter's Tale. That song, it came on in the shop the other day. I do have an issue of crying quite easily at certain songs and movies, but that song, David Essex's Winter's Tale, when it goes, it was a love that could never be, but it meant a lot to you and me. I just go every time. It's like, it's so moving.
Is he singing about Gambit and Rogue there?
Yeah. Yes. A love that could never be. Pepe Le Pew and the Cat. Rogue Gambit. It all makes, this is a lot. You've abyssed me with this. There's a lot more going on to Gambit than I
Frip.
Anyway, after these revelations, Rogue, flip, puff, puff, puff. Rogue and the X-Men kick him out for good until they somehow change their mind a few years later. He gets rid of his weird clothing for a bit and wears black, but still the trench coat, which looks surprisingly more weird, I thought. Get back to your head sock, mate. I think he maybe becomes one of Apocalypse's horsemen for a bit, probably, like everyone does, until finally all massacres are forgotten. Sorry.
Aww.
He proves he was only a little bit guilty, marries Rogue, and they discover a way to safely snog, etc.
Oh.
So presumably he stopped smoking 20 Lambert and Butler at some point. Because I don't think he smokes. I don't think any character's allowed to smoke, are they? Apart from maybe, well, they'd have to be like a Victorian gent with one of those long sticks, smoking sticks, a cigarillo. There we go. So
is he not already married? How do they get around?
Yes, he was married to Belladonna. I think she's killed
or
or divorced. Couldn't quite tell.
beheaded.
I do an unnecessary amount of research on this. I think she is still alive. I think she's died and come back, but they're fine with it. It's cool. It's
Right.
cool.
So that breaks a marriage. If someone dies, comes back, then that cancels a marriage, doesn't it?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I'm reading a Spider-Man comic where literally they were discussing that over the character Harry Osborn.
What?
whether the marriage is annulled or not if someone's
No.
died, but then comes back.
Oh,
It was
Yeah,
sort
he
of
does do
fun,
that a
but
lot, to be
also
fair.
quite dull. All right, couple of fun facts
right.
before we move on to Science Corner and rank this devil. One fun fact: apparently, he's not actually Creole. He is Cajun, but not. He's Acadian. Acadian, which I'd never heard of, an ethnic group descended from the French who settled in the New France colony of Acadia during the 17th and 18th centuries. I think they're a mixture of African, Spanish, Native American people of the same area that the Cajun ethnic group formed. It's fun, isn't it? Never heard of that.
You wouldn't have
Acadia.
heard of that without Gambit.
Without Gambit. Without
I'm
Gambit.
going to put a little point there for him, I think.
Yes, apparently most Cajuns do speak English nowadays. The odd ones do stick to their Louisiana French. A declining dialect diversified in Louisiana, shared with the Creole sister culture. So Acadians and Creoles are sister cultures, brother, sister culture, whatever. That's a bit of fun, Acadian. So, do we like Gambit now, after hearing all this? I have one more question. Sorry.
Me too.
Okay, go. I've got a couple more questions. Let's hear.
Okay. Gambit.
Mm.
The cards. Like, we haven't spoken about this.
We haven't spoken about the cards.
Like, I don't really understand that connection. There's at one point in one of them that he follows the will of the cards. He like pulls out, and like what's his connection there?
Yeah, because in that first issue, he doesn't even have them. I was surprised by
No.
that. He's got metal spikes that he throws around.
Doesn't have the cards.
No.
I mean, it's has been done before in comics. I think at this point, Bullseye, who's from one of the possibly the best Marvel story of all time, which is Daredevil Born Again, and he's a relentless, remorseless killer, and he uses cards that he throws. He can turn anything into a weapon. So they've kind of stolen a bit from Bullseye, so it's never that original. I don't know. I guess it's to give him that he's a trickster, he's a gambler, he has his pack of cards. But throwing a card, not easy, right? I guess that's part of his trick.
Not easy at all. I mean, I think David Blaine did it from like one side of the road. He threw it, and then it ended up inside a shop. But I don't think he really did it. I think it was a trick.
Really?
I think
You don't know with Blaine. Sometimes he is actually just, punched. I'm going to punch himself in the face 100 times. And he just does it. Apparently. Well, the cards, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it is just a motif, really. It doesn't really mean anything, does it? He's that kind of... Do you know this gambler song? You've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away. I guess it's playing on that, isn't it? That he's a lone wolf. He's a gambler. He's a trickster. He's a heartbreaker. But to me, it's always felt very... a bit chat GPT, dare I say. He's a bit of a Tony Collins. He's the sort of idea of a character, but not really a character. Then weirdly, as they shave off the creepiness and he marries Rogue and actually he's an all right bloke and I didn't really do that massacre and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't always wear the head sock. Then he's just nothing. Then he could be any... Do you know what I mean? Then there's no... Oh, the one I did quite enjoy, though, was Deadpool versus Gambit. That was quite fun. Did you read that comic?
Was that on the extras list?
Possibly.
Yeah, it was.
I say it was fun. It was just Deadpool and Gambit running around doing a crime together, which was quite fun. I think if they got back to the crime, thief, cat burglary-ness, that would be more fun. But really, he's just a nice-looking bloke. Oh, I did enjoy the one, Victims, the one where he's with Wolverine, and it's sort of Jack the Ripper comes back. It's a weird story. But I got to say, I was surprised by how he was quite gentlemanly to a few ladies, I noticed, in places. And he said things like, don't just treat the victims like they're just bodies. That was a woman or something. He doesn't say that, but he says something along those lines. I'm probably giving him too much rope there, but he, yeah. So
one page in that where he did look very cool. He's sort of low down in it's just a full page and he's sort of lit by the light from his card and it's just sort of him crouched down.
Yeah.
That did look very cool.
I guess they're not quite sure where to put it, because you know what you say, that him in the shadows, when you see him in the shadows, he's kind of menacing and a bit sinister. But then him in with his ponytail, he's got ponytail as well, it turns out, in one of them. Where does that go? Where does that go in the head sock? But yeah, he when he's in this, it's like, is he that, or is he this bright, fun character? I guess you've already got Wolverine as well, who kind of does a lot of the things that he does as a character. Smoke.
But what I like about him is
Mainly
that
smoke.
his power level is pretty, mid. It's not like he's a walking killing machine like Wolverine.
Yeah.
He gets into scrapes and there's threat. So you can feel like, oh no, he's in trouble now. And which, it's the whole like Superman thing where it's like,
yeah, he's vulnerable.
I like that level of power. And I think you can do a lot with that character. And I am starting to agree that I think actually, the potential wasn't perhaps fulfilled.
Although I do quite enjoy, I don't know if you have Mr and Mrs X, which is a great name for a comic, but that's when they get married, Rogue and Gambit. And I do quite like the double actness that Rogue is really strong and invulnerable. And he is the kind of like tagging along, trying to not get hit. She's protecting him. There's comedy there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. X was quite fun. I quite like the fact that almost every character seemed to not like Gambit.
Yeah, they lean into that a lot more nowadays. And in fact, so one of the questions I've got in here, Gambit in the movies and stuff, is it worth even bothering? Is what I said. So basically, the thing, he appears in Deadpool and Wolverine as this kind of, to cut a long story short, they go to limbo where there's kind of like dead characters. It all gets a bit meta. So they're like characters from the X-Men movies that are now in limbo, if that makes sense. In a meta way, they don't say this, but because the X-Men movies aren't canon anymore or whatever, so they all sort of exist in this limbo world. So you got sort of Sabretooths there and stuff like that. Yeah, Dan's rolling his eyes. It is quite gross. Gambit appears. Oh, Blade appears, and Elektra, and then Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. Or Channing Tatum. Do you remember my character? We used to call him Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum. I want to be like that, Channing Tatum. Anyway, he's... and the reason for that is that Channing Tatum had a movie 10 years in development that never got made where he was Gambit. So he never got to do it. But he's friends with Ryan Reynolds, and it was like, so it's such a kind of nerdy, only the fans would know this type nod. So he turns up, and what did you feel about? I mean, my first thought was, when you see that costume in real life, especially because Channing Tatum's quite big, he's not like a skinny Morpheus-looking type. He's actually got he's a very beautiful man, but he's got a big face. So it just looks like this big face in this sort of weird balaclava. Looks really weird. But when he was throwing his cards and fighting and all that was quite fun. And the whole thing, really, they just make out that it's hilarious how he talks is the gag.
Yeah, that no one can really quite understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah. So he's just, he talks like that. Oh, come on, he sort of talks a bit like that. It's quite funny.
Yeah, but you're right. The costume looks weird in real life. It doesn't really work off the page.
It looks weird on the page, Nick.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Gambit. Yeah, but he did have heart, and there was a sort of affection for him in it. But I don't know how they could really seriously do a Gambit now that they've taken the piss out of him. Maybe they can. Who knows? Would you like to see a Gambit movie, Dan?
I think they could pull together some of the good bits throughout these comics and do something. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Channing could be back. He also appears in Wolverine Origins briefly without his head sock, but with his stick, I believe. And in the animated version, again, I cannot stress, you must watch X-Men 97 on Disney, because Gambit has a particularly wonderful moment where he charges Wolverine's claws. And then Wolverine goes and blows everything up. It's a lot of fun. And there's a wonderful bit where he goes, "My name is Gambit. Remember it." and it's a very cool moment, which I don't want to spoil for you because do you know what? That is the only time I've ever liked Gambit, ever, is in that. There, I've said it.
Right.
Should we pop into Science Corner briefly?
Science Corner.
Dan, his powers of energy conversion.
Right.
Can
Yeah.
you
Okay,
explain that with actual physics?
Well, I'll try. I mean, I'll try. So, energy conversion from what did it say? From one.
It sounds like a very boring power, considering he's a man called Gambit, who's a womanizer and I do energy conversion. It sounds like I do.
I mean,
do conversions.
If he's converting one
He
form
takes
of
he takes the potential energy.
Yeah, he takes the potential energy and converts it into kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Well, watch this. I've picked something up and I'm going to drop it. I've just done Gambit's power.
Wow. So Dan, for listeners, Dan picked up a bottle top. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it was.
It doesn't.
It could be a screw.
It could be anything, any matter that you care to.
He lifted it in the air and dropped it.
Yeah.
So what was the potential energy was?
It was gravitational potential energy. So if you
do we have gravitational energy in us then? I thought gravity was like outside of us.
Well, we're on Earth, so Earth is trying to pull us down. I mean, we're pulling Earth towards us too, but because we're much smaller, we have a very small gravitational pull on the Earth. So we can kind of neglect that, and then if we lift,
some of us do.
Yeah, and then if you lift something from
Speak for yourself, mate. Yes, sorry, shut up, Colin. Right, yeah.
If you lift something up off from the Earth's surface into the air, you know that if you drop it, it's going to fall. It's because the Earth wants to pull it down with gravity. So that is potential. It's got this potential energy to drop. As it drops closer to the Earth, it gets less and less gravitational potential energy, because when it hits the floor, it's going to have zero, relatively speaking. It can't fall any further, so it's used up all that potential because it's done the moving. But in so doing, that energy that you've put into it by lifting it up, it changes to movement. It's now falling, so it's got kinetic energy. When it hits the floor, for fun, the kinetic energy is now dispersed in heat. When the two things.
So when you dropped that, then there was a little bit of heat.
A little bit of heat.
You wouldn't have detected it, but there would be.
Yeah, the particles in my case, the carpet and this plastic clip off of my camera, the particles in those two will judder. It's the experiment that was done was at the bottom of a waterfall. The temperature of the water was taken after it had dropped down and hit the water, and it's warmer because that's where all that energy goes.
Wow.
And there's sound as well, but that's not as
great. So, but in order to make it explode,
So he's
not just throwing. I mean, he is literally doing it by just throwing a card at you to some degree.
So there's something else going on. I think he's charging it up, like a battery.
So he's got some kind of force in him that he's putting into the card.
Yeah, like when you rub a balloon and you get a bit of static. I think he's doing that, to be honest.
With his balls, maybe?
You never quite
I don't know. That's why he's got that sort of armoured leggings thing and sort of, has he got a cod piece? If he hasn't got a cod piece, he must have a cod piece.
Puts the trench coat round. That's what
I call it the piece de resistance.
What you're doing, Dan? I'm just charging up me playing card.
He's rubbing his balls together really fast, but no one knows this secret. That would be a lovely story. It wouldn't be lovely; it'd be horrible. Thank you, Dan. That was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. Did you, Nick?
Yeah, science.
Great science. I'm actually reading the Brian Cox book to my little boy. He's very into it. He doesn't understand it. I don't understand it, but we're just plowing ahead. We just keep going. And I go to him, did we understand that? He's like, nope. I'm like, right, I'm just going to keep going. But we're sort of understanding, the Big Bang starts with one hydrogen atom apparently, and everything came from that.
Oh, you're starting from the very beginning then?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
it starts there and then it's sort of going, well, I say it's going backwards. Obviously, you can't go more backwards, but it's then explaining what all that means and atoms. And he's obsessed with atoms at the minute.
Great.
He wants to be, he wants to be a scientist now, Dan. I think he basically wants to be Dan.
Oh, stop it.
That's the main reason I'm shaving my head, because I'm kind of jealous of Dan.
Ah.
No, not really. Yeah, fine. Okay, so can I tell you the secret history of Gambit?
Right.
Please do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is pieced together from stuff I've heard on other podcasts, read on nerdy things, and only vaguely remember, but I think I've got it right. Okay. Chris Claremont, the legendary writer of the X-Men, original idea was there was a character. I can't remember his name. Let's call him... I do remember his name. His name's Nathaniel. Nathaniel was an orphan in the orphanage with Cyclops. Cyclops grew up in an orphanage, just so you know. Who either bullied Cyclops or Cyclops bullied him, but there's bad blood there. This boy is some kind of mutant as well, who creates avatars. And he creates 2 characters, but you weren't meant to know this for years and years. He creates Gambit as this kind of, well, apparently is the ultimate good guy superhero, which, doesn't quite work. And he creates Mr. Sinister. So Mr. Sinister and Gambit are actually just the imagination creations of this sort of damaged little boy who presumably now is a man who's destroying the lives of the X-Men by somehow manipulating these 2 into it. Which I think is good story. I think that's great. But I think they did Gambit and then they were like, and Mr. Sinister to a degree. I think in those initial comics, that was eventually going to be the reveal. And then they were just really popular. And they were like, oh, actually, that would kind of ruin it if Gambit turns out to not even be real. And we might as well do something with Mr. Sinister, which I think is why years later they did that Mr. Sinister Gambit connection. Because in the early ones, there isn't one. But I think it's a kind of nod to that original idea.
Oh.
Sort of quite a good idea, isn't it? It reminded me of the Twilight Zone movie. Do you remember that? Where they go to the little boy's house and his whole family are like, don't talk to him. And like his family, it turns out aren't really his family. They're just people he's like kidnapped and turned into his family. And this boy's got like unlimited power and he can, if you talk too much, he can just make your mouth disappear and stuff like that. It kind of reminded me of that kind of character. Anyway. Dan?
I do like the idea, actually. If you had this character who was probably a bit more good, as in morally good, but kept being drawn to this Mr. Sinister, and you're like, what are you doing? Why do you keep talking to him? Why do you keep, meeting up for coffees and stuff?
Yeah.
Behind everyone's back. And then you find out he's like just drawn back to his other half.
Other self.
Thing. Yeah, that sounds cool.
And I guess also we laugh at the idea of him. We laugh. We laughed our head off at the idea of Gambit being the ultimate superhero. But I guess if he's like a weird, twisted teenage boy, you would make him smoke cigarettes and be cool and hang outside Ladbrokes and have a big stick and stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make him like Superman, say. So it does make sense.
I like.
C'est bon. It's good. Lovely. I enjoyed this episode very much. Thank you for joining me today. There's one thing left to do, and that is to rank Le Gambit, Remy LeBeau. I'm going to keep calling him the Gambit. His name is Gambit. Remember it. But where does he fit on the list? We've currently got 37 characters on there, by the way. At the top, Magneto, Apocalypse, Angel. At the bottom, Android Man, Albion, and Agent X. Where does he fit in between those? As we always ask, is he better than number 14, the Absorbing Man? Yeah. Okay, he's above him. Is he better than Dan's sneaky wild card? Gambit's quite a wild card himself, the Abyss. Does the Gambit beat the Abyss?
Am I allowed to answer? Because I know my answer, but I'll let Nick answer.
And you're pro Gambit. You're Team Gambit.
I am pro Gambit, but
We're
you
Team
two,
Mr Sinister, if anything.
you've done a good job on me actually, of dragging me down a bit.
I feel like we've spoiled him.
You've ruined it.
No.
Bloody ruined it, you lot.
Well, normally, Dan, you turn me round.
I know, but fair's fair. You know, I'm.
What was your initial? We haven't really. What was right? Tell me very quickly your initial take on Gambit.
Well, initially I thought because the whole Sandman thing, and I thought he gave me immediately actual cool vibes, not like annoying, aren't I cool vibes.
Right.
And then some of the bits after that were a bit sort of not so well written and not so deep. But I already had it in my head, like the Star Wars films, where like I don't really care what happens in the new ones. I know what happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I can just ignore the stuff that they're showing me on the film because it didn't happen like that. That's not how they fell in love.
Oh, okay.
They fell in love like this. You know, I've got my own projected future for Gambit already. So I'm, you know, but the evidence is there. I can't ignore what's been written, what's been shown.
Would you have seen him finally marrying Rogue? Was that always on the cards? On the cards, literally.
Well,
I didn't do enough of those little phrases, did I?
No, so much like that.
No, you play the hand you're dealt with.
Pardon, old friend.
You play the hand you're dealt with, really, don't you?
Very good. You do. You play the hand you're dealt with.
Something about digging with a spade. Yeah,
Yes.
I couldn't put it together in time.
Okay. You would have him marry Rogue. Is that what we're saying?
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to. I just I think there was enough there in the first one for me to be interested, and the whole the monster that you will become, which is what Bishop said.
Yeah,
I'm in. I want to know. So they've let that down a bit.
So in many ways, you could say they took the potential energy of the character
and converted it into rubbish energy.
To a wet squib. Wet squib? Is that the phrase? A wet puff. Not a wet puff. I'm not. Oh, God.
They took a diamond and clubbed it to death.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. They took the potential energy of this exciting character and made him not that good and a bit bland, but looks incredible. I guess that's what we're saying. Oh, what? Are we all just bitter 45-ish-year-old men?
Well, yeah, of course. How's that relevant?
We're not, handsome rogues in the Thieves Guild. I mean, the Thieves Guild, that's rubbish. Everything they added made him worse, I think. Is that safe to say? Every single addition to Gambit's lore weakened what started as quite an interesting guy.
Yeah, I think Dan's talked me around a little bit though with the talk of the potential of Gambit. I'm like, okay, yeah, I kind of see the potential you were talking about. So you've talked me around a little bit.
Okay,
I'm a bit more pro Gambit than I was.
Is he below or above Abyss?
I think he's below Abyss though, isn't he?
Really? Okay. Right. So is he below Amadeus Cho, the genius? Angel Salvador. Remember her from New X-Men, Angel Salvador. I think I like him less than Angel Salvador.
Oh, she's the pukey one.
Fly, wings, pukes. Wolverine's hand.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather read a comic about her than Gambit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I liked her.
Okay, then we've got Amadeus Cho, the genius, who I also like a lot. The boy genius. And then we've got Werewolf by Night. I think he's above. Dan, you haven't met Werewolf by Night. He is just a werewolf. There's not. Okay. I'm going to put him at number 12. Below Amadeus Cho, above Werewolf by Night. Are we agreed?
Sounds good.
Gambit. Oh, fantastic. That was so much fun. I think that was the most fun I've had on one of these episodes, possibly. So Jamie. Weekly. He's gone. No, he'll be back next week, hopefully. I think we're going to do next week. At some point soon, we must take a Christmas break. And then when we come back in the new year, I think we're going to have mastered this. I think we're going to have worked out making the sound good, knowing what we're doing. What do you think of the format, boys?
I like it.
Improving, or is the potential energy increasing or decrease? It always decreases, right?
That's
that's life, isn't it? It's always going to decrease. Are we converting my sad old man idea into joy at least, eventually into money. We pray.
I think we've got the first step sorted out. The second step, yeah, let's keep working on that. I
Okay.
think there's joy. I feel
Like the new format?
Yeah, I think cards on the table. I think it suits the podcast.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Otherwise, you would have broke my hearts. Next week, I believe, well, talking of the Mutant Massacre, because Annalee, have you heard of Annalee? Not Annalee, Annalee. Sorry.
Wow. Okay.
It only occurred to me when I was reading up on her that, oh God, that could be said very badly, couldn't it? Annalee, who is a very minor character. So this is my new format. She's a very minor character, one of the Morlocks. So I thought we'll do Annalee, but we'll do the Morlocks.
Right.
Rather than just the next two random A characters. We'll do Annalee, and that opens the door to the Morlocks. So we're going to meet the Morlocks. We're going to meet the Sinister Mask, the weirdo Caliban, and the fierce Callisto. And
Great.
Annalee.
Annalee.
If you enjoy our work, all these boys are hanging on by a thread. I say this every time. If you enjoy our work, please help me out by sponsoring us, going to patreon.com/abombtozzzax. Zzzax has got 3 Zs and 2 X's. Help us out. There you can get extra bonus episodes and access to the spreadsheet telling you all the episodes we're reading, all the characters we're looking at, and the order. Wonderful. Why would you not want to pay money for that? God's sakes. All right, boys. Lovely to see you both. I better get back to ChatGPT asking it to write me. I did actually get it to write me what the podcast should be. It came up with Marvel Comics Unmasked. I was like, oh, that's actually quite good. It was all quite good. But also it was all quite similar to what we're doing. So that made me feel like we're in line with ChatGPT. So we're
AI approved.
AI approved. Oh, thank goodness. All right, boys. That's abombtozzzax.
Yay.
Au revoir, mon petit chou-fleur.
Au revoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Au revoir. Goodbye.
You have been listening to abombtozzzax, my favorite Marvel character, with me, Colin Holt, and my friends Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. There they go! Please remember to support us at patreon.com/abombtozzzax.